What are you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Either you are, or I'll be skipping rope with your entrails. Ta-ta.
This is the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, your source for lore and so much more. Adventurers, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. It's me, Tom, and Lotus, and we're doing more Iceberg stuff, and we've got some cool ones coming up on this episode, including one that's pretty obvious. We'll call it out when we get there. But some of these are going to sound kind of obscure, which is where we're getting to. We're getting to a little bit more obscure
we're starting
stuff.
to get to the stuff that's getting like, okay, this I understand why it's classified as an iceberg. Also, I appreciated your cool joke at the start.
My cool joke?
Yeah, because it's an iceberg.
Oh, I didn't. That was unintentional. That was not intentional. Yeah, now I'm going to have to make actual intentional cold and cool jokes for the rest of the episode.
Just dad joke it up until everyone turns us off.
Everyone turns us. I got a critique on an episode of the Fallout Lorecast. This fun little side. People comment on episodes and things. I got a critique on it. An episode that's like 5 years old on the Fallout Lorecast. And somebody said, it's when my daughter Lainey started being my co-host, and she was about for a year. We were doing the show together, and she was like, "Now that they commented, now that Lainey's on the show, Tom's jokes just keep getting worse. I'm not sure if I can listen to this anymore." And because I made some sort of awkward joke and just kind of like let the silence happen,
just like one of those pregnant pauses.
Yeah, and I guess that was just too much. So I responded to it like any good content creator, and I said, "Oh, you're only on the Lainey ones. Well, don't worry." The jokes get worse from there, which I'm sure they appreciated.
That's just a listener for life.
People are so funny about it, because if you don't like the content, just don't listen to it. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, hey, we're talking Elder Scrolls Iceberg stuff. I'm sure you don't want to hear behind the scenes podcast stuff, but we are starting on number 48 out of this gigantic list that has like over 500. This one is called Versidue-Shaie. That's a name. Killed Reman III. This is interesting. This is an interesting one. The explanation here is, according to the 2920 book series, Versidue-Shaie, Shaie?
Yeah, I always say Versidue-Shaie.
Shaie, arranged or participated in the assassination of Reman III, one of the emperors. It should be noted, however, that 2920 is considered as in-universe fiction and may not be true. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So first, to start with, that book series, because it's another series of books, the 2920 series is a great story. It is pretty long, and it's like an actual in-game novel, which I do suggest if you have some time. It's totally worth a read. We're not going to obviously go through the whole thing because it would take the entire show to go through it.
And it's one of the older books in the series too.
It is. It's a great one. And it's one of those situations where it's historical fiction in universe, technically, was my understanding of how it was phrased. So the merit of what is and isn't fact and what might just be embellishment is a little up in the air.
Right.
This one is kind of interesting because Versidue-Shaie is one of those seiches that we don't really deal with a lot. You never see them, you hear of them.
Right. And the remnants of that culture are referred to a lot in ESO because it's taking place in the second era of the world. But here, let me break this down for everybody, because you're absolutely right. These are the things that we need to be aware of as we go through this. But here, this is the breakdown. So part number 1, the official story. So this is the end of the Reman dynasty. Now, historically, there are certain facts that most sources agree on. Reman III was the last emperor of the Reman dynasty. Boom. Okay, that part's solid. No debate there.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's none after him, you can pretty much pin down that that's the last one.
Right. And we're going back to this is old stuff. Here, I'll get into it. This is the end of the first era. His chief advisor...
2920 is the year, just for anybody curious why the book is titled that. That's the year it takes place.
Yeah, first 1E, 2920.
2920, just so that's clear for everybody.
Right. Versidue-Shaie is his chief advisor. He's from Akavir. This is during that period in the history of Tamriel where a lot of these Akaviri, Seishi, individuals have kind of infiltrated and are starting to mess with the empire and the government and that kind of thing. But he was an Akaviri potentate, and he was Seishi, which is this mysterious serpent race. In ESO, the remnants of their race look more human, so maybe there are people who could turn into snakes, or...
Yeah, it's a little weird because there's also a style you can wear in game, and you can wear it. So in other words, you have limbs, so you're not a
right.
snake.
It's not snake-shaped clothing. Yeah.
So that would be like, I mean, that's... I guess, it is what it is. We make stuff for our pets and whatnot. So I guess theoretically you could modify a hoodie to also fit on like my corgi boots. And
right.
Like,
but pauldrons or, like boots, like that's a little different.
Pants.
Right.
Why would you have pants if you're a snake and you have a tail? So like, it's a little weird as to what's fact and what's fiction about them.
Right. So we'll just go with, for the most part, they were humanoid enough to be part of the culture. Maybe serpentine, or maybe they just had an affinity for snakes, or they worshiped it.
Sure.
So, there's a few different theories. Anyway, so in the year 2920, First Era, Emperor Reman III and his son, Prince, and I don't know if this is a hard J or a YJ, like Julik or Ulik, maybe?
I think Ulik, but I mean, to be fair, he doesn't matter because he has a very short lifespan.
Yeah, well, both of them were assassinated, so that's where this goes. Because Reman III had no surviving heirs, the Dragonborn line of rulers was severed. Versidue-Shaie, I'm going to mess up this word. It's going to happen a lot. VS stepped into the power vacuum. We'll just call him VS. Declared himself potentate and ruled the empire. This cataclysmic shift made the literal end of the First Age and the beginning of the Second. This was huge because it ends that entire lineage of the empire of the First Era. Things are done, right? So, okay, but where does this go? In the 12-book series, Lotus wasn't joking, this is a long series, written by an in-universe historical fictional author, Karlovac Townway, yes, Townway is his last name, functions like Tamriel's version of a Shakespearean historical tragedy. Basically, when you watch a movie these days and they're like, oh, this is a movie about the real historical events of this thing.
Based on real events.
Right.
Yeah, cool. The movie Titanic was based on real events, but as in there was a Titanic.
There was a boat and it sank, but like, was there a rose?
Right.
We don't know.
Yeah, the rest of it is the fictional part around an event that actually did exist.
Right. So this story fills in the blanks about how the dynasty ended and was there betrayal, that sort of thing. According to the books, VS meticulously orchestrated the deaths of the royal family to seize the throne, which makes sense. Somebody in a position of power who became the next leader did a thing that got them more power.
Doesn't want to be second in command, wants to lead.
Right. This is a tale as old as time. This happens all throughout our own history and the history of Elder Scrolls, right? This book paints Reman III as paranoid, incompetent, and easily manipulated. VS uses this to his advantage, slowly isolating the Emperor from his allies, which seems intentional. He subtly manipulates events so that Prince Ulik, we'll just call him Ulik, is ambushed and killed by the Morag Tong. This is that Assassin's Guild before the Black Brotherhood, like the Dark Brotherhood was a thing. Not Black Brotherhood, Dark Brotherhood. My brain likes to substitute
they like black
things.
Anyways.
Yeah, they wear black a lot. But yeah, the Morag Tong, the legally sanctioned assassins from Morrowind, assassinate him under the guise of wartime chaos. In the final volume, a Morag Tong assassin named Rija is scheduled for execution. The book implies VS uses a double agent to slit Reman III's throat in his own chamber, ensuring the blame falls back on the Dunmer, while leaving the potentate's hands completely clean. So it doesn't look like VS is a part of any of this, right?
Yeah, just kind of like, oh no, what a terrible tragedy. I guess I have to lead now.
Well, I'll step up. I mean, everyone needs somebody to be a leader. I guess I'll do it. That sort of thing. Which, again, hiring assassins to do the thing and then saying, I don't have anything to do with that. Age-old story, right? So is this in-universe fiction? Well, here's why the conspiracy theory is on the Iceberg specifically. Karlovac Townway wrote 2920 centuries after the events actually took place. In the Elder Scrolls, historical fiction books are notorious for being entertaining dramatizations rather than cold hard facts, as we've discussed many times on the show. much like modern historical movies, like we talked about, right?
Yeah.
So this leaves lore scholars, in-universe lore scholars, with a major dilemma. Did VS actually hire the Morag Tong? Or did Townway simply write a fantastic villainous political thriller? Because a shadowy snake man from Akavir making a power grab makes for a perfect historical scapegoat?
And as somebody who's read the series in-game multiple times, it's a good story.
Right. Like it could just be a fun story. It could also be politically motivated. It could also be something from his time period where the Sayesi or the Seishi, I think that's probably the better way to pronounce it at this point. I've always debated that. Are considered more villainous, and so let's make them into a villain.
Right. We don't know that he doesn't have an agenda against them at something, because that happens literally all the time, depending upon who wrote it. It's all the debates over Cyrodiil and stuff like that. It's just like, well, was there a reason that things were worded the way they were worded, or sometimes referring to people in like incredibly condescending ways? Right.
Yeah. So the big question with a lot of this stuff is, who benefits? Like, usually there's a very short line between the terrible thing that happens and the people who benefit most and their involvement with it, right? So the moment that Reman III died, VS he did a few things. He didn't do this. He didn't try to find a relative, a distant cousin. He didn't assemble a regency council. He didn't do anything in order to try to manage this in the ways that the Empire would have wanted it to be managed in a traditional sense, right?
But don't worry, he'll step right into the role. It's just because he's so thoughtful.
Right, and that's exactly what he does. He immediately takes the role. He dissolves the tradition and the rules of succession and establishes the Akaviri potentate, and then they go on to rule Cyrodiil for 400 years.
Yeah.
So you could clearly see why whoever wrote this under the pseudonym might see them as villainous and therefore explain the story in that way, but also that could just be true.
That's exactly it. Just because something, and now, like we were just saying, oftentimes the shortest line to the destination is the one that ends up being true, as to like, oh, okay, well, they caused it, so that's how they got there. But just because something tends to usually relate to that, it's correlation does not necessarily mean causation. So this could be a situation of, well, like, okay, well, this actually could have been a situation that was just like, wow, it was really advantageous for him and completed the line. But it seems very convenient.
It does. And the whole story, VS's story, Versidue-Shaie's story, ends in a very interesting way. Later on in the Second Era, he dies. Everybody dies at some point. Everybody
dies at some point. His death was quite dramatic.
How does VS die? He's assassinated by the Morag Tong.
Sure is. And
there's a painting of the words Morag Tong on the wall in his own blood.
Yes.
Where his body is found. So some people see this as like, oh, well, it's poetic justice. It's part of the story. It makes it feel like it's a Shakespearean play. All of that stuff. But it may just have been, more political intrigue. Either them, maybe he didn't, I don't know, maybe he screwed somebody else over. Bills. He didn't pay his bills. Something else happened, right?
Yes, which worth noting, though, about that, because, again, that also causes a whole bunch of ripple effects, which I really we're not going to get too far into, where it's like the dissolution of the Morag Tong because of this. And it's just like, oh my God, now like Morag Tong's out of control. They killed an emperor. Like, oh my God.
Right. They killed an emperor. And then the guy who then served after the emperor.
Right. Yeah. But the thing about that, just worth noting, is scrawling your victim's blood on the wall to make a message, not very efficient stealth assassination. And very out of character.
Yes, but that's also what's weird about it, is that why would the Morag Tong do that? They typically don't do that. Correct. So why would they do that here? Was it just a warning? Were they getting too big for their britches? Or is this just part of the story that makes it seem more interesting?
Exactly, because the other thing that can, I guess, spiral off on this, and I guess I don't remember all 550 of the Iceberg things. And to be fair, I actually have not read all 550 of them. We usually take them in chunks pre-show.
Sure, right. There's so many, we have to break it down.
Maybe this is, ice chunk number 411 or something like that. But the other thing is, this sort of seems like, was this one person who went a little more rogue?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of crossover between the Morag Tong, who I feel has always shown themselves to sort of be like an actual Assassin's Guild in the series.
A little bit more professionally run than the Dark Brotherhood. Yeah.
And then the Dark Brotherhood are a bunch of blood-crazed maniacs who happen to have formed a guild until they kill each other.
Yeah, that seems to be the way that usually works out. Yeah.
So, with the sort of crossover and genesis of the Dark Brotherhood in certain ways, and then the Morag Tong itself, this, to me, always, I was just like, oh, interesting. I wonder if this is a little bit where that split kind of came to a head. Like,
yeah.
Which is just interesting, because it just, like I said, it does not match the professionalism of a professional Assassin's Guild the same way.
Right.
As the Morag Tong tends to have done.
Yeah. The way that they were perceived for centuries before this.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So, maybe somebody was just kind of operating out of hand from the rest of the group.
Went a little rogue, went a little Dark Brotherhood on everybody.
Maybe. But there you go. That's why this is on the Iceberg, and it's a fun story with all sorts of connections to other things, when some of these will absolutely come up later. So
yes, I can't recommend reading that one enough. Or if it is still up, because I guess it is down on many places, if you check out Skyrim Book Club, they do a fantastic version of this. It's like, I think each book actually might be an episode. I think it's 12 episodes, because it's so long.
Yeah. It's one of the longer ones.
But it's an excellent story. It's a great addition to the series, and I strongly recommend reading through it. It's like a little Shakespearean play. It's super fun.
Yeah, that's a good description. Yeah, we use that in the description here, but I think that applies really well.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of having it put.
Like if you've read or watched Julius Caesar or something like that, it kind of feels a lot like that.
For sure.
All right, so 49. Number 49. This is another one of those that I'm going to read, and Lotus is going to be like, yeah, obviously. Here we go. Every one of our listeners is going to be like, why is this on the list?
Why is this? I know.
I think it's on the list because it's kind of full of interesting details, but it's not like a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. We'll get into it.
Underground Falmer Colonies is the entry. And the explanation that comes with the Iceberg is this is the biggest one I could find online. I just pulled it off online. So what was originally written here is, as the snow elves were being ravaged by Nords, some hid underground while they were blinded and forced into slavery by the Dwemer. Their colonies still exist underground and can be explored in Skyrim and ESO, most notably the Cavern of Blackreach. This is the kind of entry that it's like, if you didn't play Skyrim or ESO,
that is Skyrim.
You didn't know, but if you did, okay,
cool. Yes, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is a game. It was like the 4th best-selling game ever. Got it. Like,
right, and if you go into certain caves, you come across Falmer, and if you dig a little bit, you go, oh, they used to be snow elves, and they were, okay. I get it.
Right. Oh, you played the expansion of Dawnguard as well? Cool. You really find out that it's true.
Oh, you didn't just skip all the dialogue. You actually read things a little bit.
Right.
Congratulations. And I don't even, like, a lot of times when I play, I'll pick up a book and I don't read the book, right? Because I'm like, I'm moving on with my adventure.
This becomes dialogue.
Right. But this is like dialogue. This is a character. You meet a snow elf in the, spoilers for a 15-year-old game.
Correct.
You meet a snow elf in the game and you get a description about, like, hey.
And you can ask him about his history, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And he just so, but like, that's fine. Like, okay, but this isn't like mystery. This is just cool. This is the game. And I actually think it's a really cool history to the Falmer, because it's a really screwed up tale. Like it's.
Yes.
That race is hyper tragic. Where it's just like,
and super creepy now that they're Falmer.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just like, so the history of the Falmer itself, and kind of like the weird scenario they got themselves in with, because the Dwemer like their experiments, and it's just like, okay, well, we'll take you in. And then it turns into like, oh, by the way, we're just doing experiments on you in the background while you're helping us work. Oh, yeah, no, well, now you're so incapacitated by this poison. algae, or I forget exactly.
It was the food that they were feeding them.
Poison moss, some type of poison thing that they were feeding them. I forget exactly the type of food it was off the top of my head. Now we've basically rendered you incapacitated, so now you're enslaved to us. And it's just like, wow, that's... So you get the Nords beat the crap out of you upstairs. So you all have to go on.
We enslave you in order to give you a place to live, and then to use you as our mechanism for mining and getting things out of the ground. And
don't get me wrong, like, what causes the Nords to fight them back? With the assassination of or murder of like a lot of their people and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things. It's like one group of snow elves does this horrific act, so the counterpoint is like, okay, well, genocide then. It's like, whoa, wow, okay, holy crap.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, it makes sense if you're like, okay, two cultures who just don't get along, who are vying for power and control over an area. Like, I feel like that's a thing, another one, a tale as old as time, two groups button heads about
as old as time are terrible.
Right. Yeah. Well, hey, welcome to history. But two groups button heads about like who gets to live there. Yeah, that's a thing, right? It's another to be like, I don't know, the Dwemer, who I guess the best explanation for them is they never ask should they do it, they just ask can they do it.
Yeah, I know. It's very much like, oh, here's our newest lab experiment.
Right.
Yikes, guys. A little bit of ethical counsel would be good.
Yep. Hey, I guess we can try and do this. When maybe that's also why they disappeared. It was more of a can we do it than should we. So,
yeah, exactly. It was like, whoops.
And now you've got Falmer. So there you go. The origins of the Falmer, basically.
Yeah.
And that's why you find them underground in colonies.
Yes.
But let's move on. Number 50, Temple Withholding Vampirism Cure. This one I find particularly interesting because this is another one that's not super obvious. So the explanation for this one is Vampires of Vardenfell Volume 2. This is one of the books. This book contains the cure for vampirism, and it's banned by the Tribunal Temple. But the first volume isn't. Just one of the volumes.
Yeah.
Which is suspicious. Like, it's very, very suspicious here. So let's open it up and let's just read what it says. This is the book, and it's not super long. It's like 4 paragraphs. We're going to read through what it says. Vampires of Vardenfell Volume 2. This is a Morrowind game thing that is tied into a quest line. And here's what the text says. And there's a lot of gaps in the text. This is basically just highlights from the volume.
Yeah, it does highlights a lot so that it's like, oh, well, you're reading these excerpts of the book was how some of the books were written, rather than kind of give an explanation as to why it's not a literal book.
Right.
But it's a book.
Right. So here goes. In the West, a shadowy fraternity of vampire hunters is believed to be primarily composed of formerly afflicted vampires who have been cured of the disease. According to the legend, the vampire hunters refuse to reveal the cure to the disease for fear that it may encourage depraved thrill seekers from deliberately infecting themselves. In the East, the Western tradition of vampire hunters is unknown. Vampirism is known to be incurable, and even if it were curable, a cured vampire would be an abomination to be destroyed. Since the disease is infallibly cured if treated within 3 days, failure to treat oneself after an encounter with a vampire would be considered a deliberate attempt to contract the disease and a mark of monstrous depravity. The temple doctrine, this is where it starts to get more interesting. One ancient tradition holds that, among his many other crimes, Molag Bal, the father of monsters, spawned the first vampire upon the corpse of a defeated foe. We all know the story about this, and how
that one we had.
It's super gross.
If you're going to listen to that one, just listener discretion is advised.
Bad things done to ladies in order to, we'll just make vampires. Yep. We'll just call it that. Several different versions of this story exist, with the foe variously identified as a Daedric lord, a temple saint, or a powerful beast creature. This account of the origin of vampirism is peculiar to Morrowind, appearing nowhere else in Imperial lore. Unfortunately, scholarly inquiry upon this topic is discouraged by the temple, which controls access to the only substantial collection of historical and cultural records in Morrowind. Though the Dunmer believe this disease is incurable, a buoyant armiger of former years named Galler Rithari insists that he was cured of vampirism. Initially imprisoned by the temple for heresy, he later recanted, was released, and served his final years as a librarian in the Hall of Wisdom in Vivec. It is interesting that previous to his imprisonment for heresy, Rithari had been posted to the Buoyant Armiger garrison at Bal-Ur, a pilgrimage site known as the birthplace of Moleg Bal. Right, what do you think about this, Lotus? The text I just read is the one that the temple doesn't let anyone read.
Yeah. That's the one that it lets you see behind the curtain.
We discover it in game when we get access to this, but nobody's supposed to have access to it.
Right.
I feel like there's something universal about just being a human being in the 21st century and struggling with weight. I know it's something that I've had to deal with, and I go in and out of exercising more and having a better diet, and then I ruin it by eating more pizza and tacos and whatever else. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. And diet and exercise are great, but sometimes you need a little bit more. You can lose 20% more of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise with Wegovy at Hims. It regulates your appetite so you eat less, and Wegovy is the first ever GLP-1 pill for weight loss, so there's no needles. You can get everything through Hims, so it all happens online. You'll be connected with a licensed provider who helps determine if this is the right treatment for you, and if you're prescribed, your medication is delivered directly to your front door. No insurance is necessary. There's a range of GLP-1 options, and they give you a lot of extra support with 24/7 messaging, team care, in-app, lifestyle and nutrition support, recipes and meal plans. They're not just going to sell you the product, they're going to support you and make sure that you do what is right for you. So are you ready to reach your goals? Visit hims.com/scrollslore to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's HIMS.com/scrollslore. hims.com/scrollslore. Weight loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit hims.com.
Very interesting, because it seems to lead to the credence of there seems like more to this.
Right. Right. Okay, so let's look at the elements. We've got the Tribunal Temple, so Vivec, Almalexia, Sothasil, right? They're the ones who make the decisions. Everyone else follows their lead, mostly Vivec, but they follow their lead, right?
Yeah, Vivec's the forward-facing one.
Right.
Almalexia too, to a degree.
Yeah. But I feel like this is one of those, like, okay, so there is a connection here. Vivec, Moleg Bal, they go way back.
They sure do.
There's rumor that there were relations between the two, and that Vivec learned many things about Chim and mantling and all of this kind of stuff from Moleg Bal. I'll just leave
you with the word Wuthra.
Yes. His spear is involved. And there's some stuff going on there, right? We're not going to get into all the nuance of that, but there is a connection there. But the curious part is, why would the Tribunal Temple want to not cure people of vampirism? And like the text says, they want to dissuade the thrill seekers from just trying it out and curing themselves.
Sure, I guess.
That seems like a made-up reason to justify something else.
That does not seem like a super valid reason. Now, what are you thinking that... So oftentimes I come up with theories for these things.
Yep. I don't have a personal theory other than there's some sort of deal between Vivec and Moleg Bal where he is just staying away from vampirism in general, because he's like, that's your thing, and so I'm just not going to mess with it. And
I don't have like a strong theory to this either, but you're sort of in the same ballpark, which I was thinking. I guess maybe I'm a little different, but like you're definitely on the same track, I think, with the only thing I could come up with. Mm-hmm. So my thought in a similar vein is, with the previous connection that seems likely to have happened, well, I'm not going to say obviously, but what we learn about their relationship from the 36 Lessons of Vivec. Right. That's where we know.
Which is written by Vivec, which attests to it himself. Correct. So it's his own version of the events.
Right. Now, granted, everything in the 36 Lessons is worded very flowery. So, the basics are generally there, but how much, again, much like the last story, How much of it is exact? Probably not that much. It might just
which
be
things
like,
are real, which things are symbolic, which things are poetry, which things reference something greater than what it's actually saying.
There's hidden messages based on which paragraph, like the words you read out of paragraphs that actually spell other things about him being a liar and stuff like that. There's a lot to it. We're not going to get too into that. But the point is, it seems pretty undeniable that there was some type of temporary relationship between Vivec and Molag Bal.
Yes. That seems likely.
Yes. In some of the stuff which he does mention, Vivec, they bring up the fact that they've learned many things from Molag Bal.
Yes. Right.
And it's not really, yes, everybody like kind of refers to Molag Bal as evil, and he's pretty depraved through and through throughout the series. But like, there's very little black and white with this. So there's always something to be gleaned. And I wonder if there was some type of agreement where Vivec won't interfere so that he won't inhibit Molag Bal continuing to get minions as almost like a payment for some of the stuff that he took away from the experience. So it's sort of just like an unspoken thing. It's like, look, I'll just look the other way. I'm still going to discourage people from it. It's like, oh, well, no, it's super offensive. You don't want to be a vampire. That's terrible.
Right. But I won't actively intrude on your domain here. But
I'm also not going to provide an out to these people either.
Right.
So it's really at people's discretion. I'm not going to actively prevent you from getting more minions type of deal.
It feels like a deal.
Of my only thought.
Yeah, it feels like there's some sort of boundary here that was agreed upon, or that Vivec fears something and so therefore is treading carefully.
Right. Like, I'm not going to, I'll just play nice and look, I don't approve of this, but like if this happens, I'm not going to provide an out either, because then it's just like, okay, I'm not going to actively prevent you from getting more vampires, Molag Bal. Right. Yeah. I have the similar sense of that. Now, the why for it, like what does Vivec get out of it? Maybe this is the sort of thing that was decided once they realized that their power was temporary and declining. Perhaps. There's also, I mean, if you go through the 36 lessons of Vivec, there is a lot that kind of show that he cared, or they cared for Molag Bal quite a bit in a lot of ways. Like they were essentially like ad hoc married briefly and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's weird. Like, it's real weird.
That does seem like it has some type of like bond between the two of them. So like it always just, when reading this one, it just made me think it's like, oh, maybe it's just like lingering, like, hey, you taught me all these. I remember the experiences, as weird as they are worded, maybe.
I remember the young days of our love when we'd go on picnics and rides in the park. My feet.
Yeah, I guess that is a line from the books. That's not just as random as it sounds.
Yeah.
So I got it as more of a like connection it still had, like they still have perhaps. And it was like, I got these benefits from the scenario. So as kind of in trade, like, I'm not gonna really provide an out. I'm just not going to encourage people to be vampires.
Yeah, we also have to remember that the Dunmer as a people and the Chimer before them, their morality is not what necessarily what you would assume all the time. And on top of it, they have a very interesting relationship with Daedric princes in that
sure do.
There were the anticipations, and they openly worship certain Daedra, and they don't see them the way that we might see them through the games that we've played and the ways that we've played them.
Exactly. And even though Molag Bal is part of the House of Troubles, that doesn't mean it's more of a be cautious around them rather than never deal with them type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. It's that's just, like I said, I was pretty similar in mindset, and that was my thought. It's just sort of based on their prior relationship. It seems like there might be just a prid quo. Blah, I can't say that word currently.
Or quo.
Yes. Quid pro quo. There we go. I can actually use the syllables and where they belong instead of getting massively tongue tied. Where they're just kind of like you know what? I'm not going to actively hinder you getting more vampires.
Yeah. We also have to remember that he is not Mehrunes Dagon. He's not about change. He's not about destruction.
Correct.
He's about control. and domination. And if you think of it from the perspective of his vampires are a form of control over mortals. And if you take control away from him about that, then that would absolutely be something that would make him very angry.
Correct. And also, I mean, in terms of controlling people, the tribunal is pretty big into that as well. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. No, I'm saving you from this giant rock that's hovering above Vivec City.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to get rid of it. It's just there to remind you that it's not squishing you. It's all right. That's creepy.
Yeah, it does feel very, very much like Vivec learned a lot from Molag Bal in a few different ways. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. I think we've got time for one more. So let's do 51. This one also is interesting. Titus Mede the second, not present at Red Ring. Okay, so what does this mean? Legends deal with the Great War, specifically the closing days near the Imperial City right before the Battle of the Red Ring. Titus Mede II is wounded by an assassin, and the forgotten hero dons his armor and leads the Legion into battle instead. Okay, what are we talking about here? Well, Titus Mede II he's the same emperor that we can assassinate in Skyrim.
Sure is.
As part of the Dark Brotherhood quest.
Which is very funny.
Yes. So, and there's some connections here, which makes that even more interesting once you understand this, that like he ends up being assassinated by us. But the Battle of the Red Ring is arguably the most important military conflict of the fourth era in the Elder Scrolls. This is fourth era, right? This is fourth era 175. It is the climax of the Great War between the Third Elmeri Dominion. So basically the High Elves, the Falmer.
Yes, and the ones you're constantly dealing with in Skyrim.
Yes, and the Empire as run by Titus Mede II, right? This is explained in Legends, so we're talking card game lore here, where you are the forgotten hero who fills in for the Emperor to inspire the troops to believe the Emperor is fighting in the battle alongside them, but he isn't. Even though the Empire won the battle, they were so weakened by the larger conflict that they negotiated a peace deal, which included the White Gold Concordat, that is the decision that bans Talos worship, that leads to...
This is the premise of why the Empire is so weakened in Skyrim.
Right, yeah. So when you start with like all of this stuff happens between the events of Oblivion and Skyrim, and you start playing Skyrim and you find that all of this stuff has already happened. And it's part of why the Nords are angry. It's part of why the Thalmor is there trying to influence the Civil War. Like all of that stuff ties into exactly this. But it's revealed in the card game that Titus Mede II isn't a heroic like emperor or emperor who also acts as a general and goes out on the field with his soldiers in order to inspire them to win this victory, which really wasn't even that great of a victory because they were all worn out and had to give into the treaty details anyway. It was you as the character playing Legends, the card game. Does that make sense?
I absolutely love this theory. Like, this one's great because it legitimizes, if people didn't get the hint yet that I super love Legends, and I thought it was great that it has so many stories kind of like tucked away in a card game. And I just love that all these offshoot series that they have, because there's not a lot of spin-off Elder Scrolls games. There's definitely some, but they're all kind of important in little ways. Maybe not Castles, but
okay.
Sorry, Castles.
Yeah. Castles is just a fun little make a castle.
Yep, I was going to say maybe not Castles, but the rest of them all have a little something to them, and I the story was actually really good, and so were the expansion stories in Legends. So I loved this when I played through the Legend storyline, and this I think is awesome. I hope. I mean, it seems like this is the case. So
it feels pretty obvious.
It literally seems like it's the case. So I guess without a counterpoint to it, I would go on the fact that this seems like it. But this, even though it's like, congratulations, you played Legends. Kind of like we've been joking about some of them. It's like, congratulations, you played the game. That's not Legends has been taken down. So this is lore that you kind of needed to play a side game to get. And I feel like there's a bit more of an exception. Like, yes, it's true, you just played this game, but it kind of becomes you played this offshoot thing. You read the novels. And I love that tie-in. So it's like, it kind of goes on the Iceberg better to me because as not part of the mainline series, less people will be exposed to that.
Exactly.
Whereas
like this is the sort of thing where
the
like
mainline, it's like, well, okay, you just played one of the main games.
Right. Like 60 million copies of Skyrim have been sold. Now, a lot of those are duplicates because people would buy them on different platforms or whatever. But let's just assume it's 30 million people have played Skyrim.
I think that actually their last number was 62 million.
62 million. So let's just round it in half. 31 million people have played Skyrim and bought it twice or something like that.
Sure.
On average.
Please don't look at the 5 copies behind me.
Right. But let's just be super generous here.
Yeah.
10 million people played Skyrim, right? How many people played Legends? Not 10 million people.
No.
And of the people who played Legends, how many of them actually did it for the story? Probably way less than the number.
Well, let me just put it this way. I think out of all my friends, because a bunch of us actually used to play Legends, I know several of them just got it to play the card game and have literally no concept of what the story was. So
yeah, I would guess that probably, I don't know, 5% of the people who play any game actually pay attention to the story of the game.
The story, yes.
Yeah, correct. Kind of how that works. They'll pick up little bits here and there, but like if you ask them, they're like, okay, lay out the story for me. They'd be like, I don't know. You went over here and you talked to this person, whatever their name was, and you did a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So so it's this stuff is fun on here because it makes more sense from that perspective as opposed to the other one where it's like, well, that if you just
it's a mainline entry, it's kind of tricky, right? Whereas just like, so that's why it's like, yes, this one I do think is pretty straightforward. It is from, hey, you played one of the games, but because it's just such a, I don't want to say hidden gem, but just like it legitimizes the what's the expanded world of the series type of thing, because it's not a mainline entry. So it
relates directly to a character that you actually do interact with in Skyrim.
Exactly.
And fills in more detail about them. Yep. Because if you're somebody who only played Skyrim, you'd be like, well, they're important because they're the Emperor, but what else? Like what's the
deal? Right.
And it's like, there's more here, clearly. So there you go. So he was not actually on the battlefield. He got injured and your character stepped in and was not credited for the heroic act that, I guess you could say saved the Empire from total destruction and allowed them to negotiate. Let's just call it that.
For sure.
So there you go. All right. Those are our Iceberg entries for this week. We're going to take a quick break, but we've got to go thank our patrons. And we've got a random UESP page also, which I've already pulled up. And hey, it's random. You'll see in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Sometimes it coincides, but not always. All right. We'll be right back.
This is Hamis Morak, Dragonborn, and you are educating yourself to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
All right, before we get to the random page, we have to thank our patrons, and our newest patron, Alexandro E. Thank you for signing up and joining us and your support. And to the 113 of you who are supporting us financially by being paying members and the many other free members, thank you for joining us on Patreon. Also, I have to shout out our Daedric Princes, Kira C, Blinding Vision, Hercine, Peter R, and Mintaka. Thank you so much. You guys are like top tier patrons. You get shout outs every week. And we don't have any new reviews this week on Apple Podcasts, but if you'd like to leave a review or a kind comment or rate the show 5 stars, that would be wonderful. Share the show with your friends. Any of that stuff is super helpful, and we really do appreciate it. And if you leave a 5-star review on Apple, we'll read it out on a future episode and get your words on the show. But I've got the random page here. Anything about Tales of Tamriel you want to share before we head over to that?
We had our big 400th episode, which was a lot of fun to record.
Yeah, congrats, 400.
Yeah, and what do you call it? If you have any interest, I know a lot of people have been sending in entries. We're doing a giveaway, which is still open because we're just keeping it open until we record the next show. If you want to just send in, again, most people have been sending in ridiculous moments from the show over the past many
Is it like
years.
Favorite moments kind of thing?
Favorite moment of the show, but we were also kind of just like, we've got lots of fun stuff to give away. So like, maybe favorite, what do you call it? Like favorite thing that you got out of the series. It doesn't have to be us.
Cool. So, and then what do you get? What's the giveaway?
We're giving away tons of stuff. We actually have a bunch of digital codes. We've got some gifts that we're mailing out to people and stuff like that. So you can either tweet at us, you can send us a Blue Sky message. I don't know what that's called, just a Blue Sky message.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Or you can email us at taleoftamrielpodcast.com.
Go listen to the episode.
Yeah.
And then send something in, get in the giveaway.
It's a fun chat. A lot of people joined us for the live show because we hadn't done a live show in so long.
Yeah.
So we had a big live show, and that was super fun because we had like a bunch of people jumping in throughout and just like chatting with us. It was a lot of fun. It's a much more lengthy episode, a little more contained than some of ours, but it was still nearly 3 hours, I believe. So, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, and we should be recording another one soon to discuss kind of our final thoughts on Night Market and all of that stuff coming up, probably this weekend.
Yeah. And Lotus and I were talking in the pre-show while we were live streaming about the new open world difficulty levels for ESO. Super cool. Like I dove into that, and that's great. You get more XP. Enemies are harder, and like once you are like max level and you've got good gear, now you have a reason to like fight your way through a dungeon still, and you still get more XP for all the extra stuff that you can still unlock even though you're max level. It's cool stuff. So big fan of that, and just go check it out. If you have tried ESO, go play it. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it, and they're making some big improvements and adding things that people have been asking for a long time. So
a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. Also, if you want any more of my stuff, first of all, head over to robotsradio.net. You can find all the different shows on the network. Plus, you can go listen to my other shows, the Fallout Lorecast, the Lord of the Rings Lorecast, and Retro Recall. And we're about to get into old RPGs, which is super fun. Coming up very soon on Retro Recall, we'll be covering Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy I, and some of the gold box D&D games from like the late 80s, early 90s. It's amazing how much these games influence later games, and you can kind of see some of the things that they did show up in Elder Scrolls and other stuff. So
I love that
cool
because I
there.
actually just went through an 100%ed Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, the game
literally like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's amazing how much that game does right, and it's like foundational.
It's super fun. The story gets a little weird at the end.
Chaos and what's his face returns and like all of that stuff.
There's a twist, which kind of was. Would you have a twist? Just have a twist? That almost didn't even make any sense. It was a little weird, but actually, I had never played Final Fantasy 1, and I just was in the mood. I hadn't played a JRPG in years.
Yeah.
And there's the Pixel remaster on PlayStation. It was like $4 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I picked it up and played through it, and I had a ton of fun with it. It was just long enough to be exactly what I wanted after I beat Elden Ring. I was like, oh, this is great. I very much enjoyed it. So I'm actually looking forward to that one because I was like, oh, this is hyper relevant to me because I literally just played through this game.
Yeah. No, that'll be up in a few weeks because we record them ahead of time and release them over time. But also comparing it to Dragon Warrior is very interesting. The leveling in Dragon Warrior is so much slower than it is in Final Fantasy, even though those games only came out within like a year and a half of each other, something like that.
Interesting.
It's the balance of it and the number of options and things that you can do with your party and the types of gear and all of that kind of stuff in Final Fantasy is way more complex than Dragon Warrior. It's really interesting from like a looking at it backwards kind of standpoint.
Sure.
But anyway, we get into that stuff on Retro Recall. So look that up on your podcast service, whatever you want. I don't know. Wherever,
Podcatcher of choice is how I was saying.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
It catches pods.
It catches pods. That's how it works.
Catching all the pods.
But here's our random UESP page. So the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, we hit the random button and we got lore. This is the category. I always like to start with the category. Hinted out. Lore : books F. Books that start with F. And the specific book that starts with F is Flora of Hammerfell. This is a book. Now, most of these books, a lot of them date back to Daggerfall or
I was about to say this has to be a Daggerfall.
It's not. This is not a Daggerfall book. This is not a Morrowind book. This is not a Oblivion book. And it's not a book that shows up early in the series that then shows up in later games, because that often happens too. This book only shows up in Redguard.
Oh, dear God.
This is a Redguard only book.
A classic Redguard exclusive.
Yeah, and it's called Flora of Hammerfell. So that makes sense. Redguard parts of that game obviously take place in Hammerfell. The region,
right? Makes sense.
The subtitle is A Brief Description of the Flora to be Found in Hammerfell. It lists 3 different plants. Aloe, Angelica, and basil.
Delicious.
That's it. With descriptions and a picture of, well, at least the aloe and the angelica. Oh, no, the basil's there too. Pictures of all 3 with brief descriptions. That's the entire book. It's just Lotus needs to take a nap. It's time to go to bed.
I feel like
Lotus.
that encompasses just the mentality of Redguard in general. Yeah, there's 3 plants, whatever.
Yeah, so there you go. That's our random page for the week. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Chat, thank you for being here with us. And Jumaroff says, if it's not Final Fantasy, if it isn't weird. There you go. We'll be back next week with our patrons. I didn't even bring that up. Our patron chats next week. So that'll be on the 25th.
Wow, that's already the end of the month. That's crazy.
Yeah, we're getting there. So if you'd like to join us, you can join us on Patreon and be one of our patron guests who chat with us every month. All right, we'll be back with that next week. And until then, anything else?
No, just don't get assassinated and write it in blood.
There you go. See you next time. Bye, everybody.
Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Check out robotsradio.net for more podcasts just like this, and join us on the Robots Radio Discord. Be part of a community of over 5,000 people who are excited about video games and so much more. Robots Radio. Games, lore, stories, community. Just press play.